What if the life you are living right now is not yours, not even close? It was designed for you, by people who needed you distracted, comfortable, just ambitious enough to feel alive, but never dangerous enough to actually break free. Think about that for a second. Every system around you, every comfort offered to you, every person telling you to be realistic and stay in your lane, is not trying to protect you. They are trying to manage you, because a manageable man is a useful man. And a useful man never asks the question that changes everything. What am I actually capable of? The ones who do ask it, they change. Not loudly, not dramatically. Something shifts inside them, deep, cold, and permanent. Their eyes change. Their silence gets heavier than other men's words. Their patience becomes sharper than other men's anger. People feel it before they can name it. That shift is not luck. It is not talent. It is a mindset, cold, precise, ruthless, understood by conquerors, practiced by kings, and deliberately buried by the very systems that needed you comfortable and controllable. Machiavelli called it virtù, not kindness, not charity. The ferocious, disciplined capacity to bend reality to your will. Today I am handing it to you, but be warned. What follows will not comfort you. It will not validate you. It will not give you a warm feeling and send you back to the same life. It will rebuild you. Now drop in the comments right now. I don't react, I calculate. 1. Something broke inside you. That was the beginning. The most terrifying thing you can become is not rich, not powerful, not feared. The most terrifying thing you can become is a man that no one can predict, no one can control, and no one can ignore. That is what this lesson is about. Most men walking around right now are not lazy. They work hard, they try, they follow the rules, they show up. But they are playing on a board someone else designed, using pieces someone else gave them, following rules that were written specifically to keep them from winning. They are busy, but they are not dangerous. And there is a difference between the two that most men never discover. Busy means you are moving. Dangerous means you are moving with intention that no one can predict. Busy means you are filling time. Dangerous means every moment you spend is a calculated deposit into something most people around you cannot even see yet. The man who wakes up, he does not announce it. There is no moment where he stands up and declares himself changed. What happens is quieter than that, and far more permanent. It starts with accumulation, betrayal after betrayal, disrespect absorbed too many times, opportunities handed to men less prepared because they played the visibility game better. And somewhere inside him, something stops being soft. Something goes cold, not bitter, not angry. Cold in the way steel is cold, functional, precise, unbreakable. His priorities rearrange without warning. His tolerance for nonsense disappears without apology. The things that used to drain him energy, the need for approval, the fear of being misunderstood, the desperate hunger for validation, they stop running the machine. He stops running on what people think of him. He starts running on what he is building. Machiavelli wrote that men are so simple and so much creatures of circumstance that the deceiver will always find someone ready to be deceived. The sleeping man is always that someone. He follows the path of least resistance not because he is stupid, but because no one ever showed him the cost of it. The cost is everything. The cost is the version of himself he was supposed to become, sitting untouched on the other side of every comfort he chose over growth. Now here is what no one talks about. When you begin to wake up, the resistance does not come from strangers. It does not come from enemies. It comes from the people closest to you. They will call you intense. They will say you have changed. They will tell you to relax, to enjoy life, to stop taking everything so seriously. And they will say all of this with genuine concern on their face. But what is actually happening underneath that concern is simpler and colder than affection. Your growth makes them uncomfortable, because your growth forces them to look at their own stillness. Your awakening is a mirror they did not ask to stand in front of. These are the comfortable ones. The people in your circle who benefit from your smallness, not because they are evil, because human nature, left unexamined, gravitates toward environments where it does not have to change. The moment you start changing, you disturb the ecosystem, and ecosystems do not like to be disturbed, so they push back. Gently, with love sometimes, but the push is real. This is when the man who is truly waking up makes the choice that separates him from everyone who almost did. He does not explain himself. He does not justify his transformation to people who are not ready for their own. He simply moves, quietly, consistently, without permission. That is the day a man stops being manageable. Not the day he becomes loud, the day he becomes unreadable. Drop this in the comments right now. I am no longer available for a life designed by someone else. Mean it, because everything that follows is built on that decision. 2. Power was never about strength. It was always about control. Power is not loud. Weakness is loud. Power is the quiet man in the corner who already knows how the evening ends before it begins. Let me ask you something. Think of the most powerful people you have ever been in a room with, the ones whose presence you felt before they spoke. Were they the loudest? Were they the most emotional? Were they the most aggressive? No, they were the most controlled. Here is what Machiavelli spent his entire life watching. He watched princes rise. He watched brilliant men collapse. He watched mediocre men build empires. And he kept asking the same question. Why? What separated the ones who endured from the ones who were destroyed? Not talent, not righteousness, not deserving. Who understood the game better? That is it, nothing more. Power does not flow toward the man who works hardest. Power flows toward the man who controls his own emotional state while reading everyone else's. The man who gives less information than he has. The man who moves before others realize the game has started. The man who never reveals the full extent of what he is thinking, no matter how much trust is in the room. Money, status, connections. These are not power. These are what power looks like from the outside. These are the symptoms. Men spend their entire lives chasing symptoms and wondering why they never feel powerful. Chase the source. The source is your ability to think clearly when others are panicking, to stay silent when others are exposing themselves, to act decisively when others are still having a committee meeting inside their own head. That is what makes a man dangerous, not his circumstances, not his resources, not who he knows, his clarity, his absolute unshakable clarity about how the world actually works versus how men wish it worked. Now here is the part most people miss. Being cold does not mean being empty. The coldest man in the room is not the one who feels nothing. He feels everything. The difference is he does not let what he feels operate the machine. His anger does not make the decision. His fear does not make the decision. His ego does not make the decision. He makes the decision. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must know how to use both the beast and the man. The beast for raw force, the man for reason. The dangerous man carries both. But reason is always the one driving. This is what the system does not want you to develop. A reactive man is a manageable man. When you can be pushed into anger, you can be steered. When you can be triggered into defensiveness, your attention can be controlled. When you need external validation to feel confident, you will always be available for manipulation. The moment you stop being reactive, you become a different kind of problem for the people who used to manage you easily. You become unpredictable, and unpredictable men cannot be controlled. Look at every room you walk into from this moment forward with one question. Who is the coldest person here? Not the loudest, not the most impressive, not the one performing confidence, the one who is watching, the one who speaks less than he knows, the one who does not seem to need anything from the room. That is where the power is sitting. Your job is to become that man, not by pretending, not by performing it, by actually developing the internal structure that makes the chaos of other people's emotions something you observe rather than something you absorb. The world rewards results, not effort, outcomes, not intentions, perception, not truth. Internalize that, because the man who has internalized that does not spend energy on what is fair or what is deserved. He spends it on what moves the needle, on what produces the outcome, on what builds the reality he has decided to live in. That is the coldest man in the room. That is the most powerful man in the room. Write this in the comments. Power is taken, never given. Say it like you mean it. 3. The hunter does not announce himself. The most devastating thing you can say to your enemy is nothing. Not a threat, not an argument, not a perfect comeback. Nothing. And most men will never be able to do it. Not because they are not smart enough. Because the discomfort of silence is something modern life has specifically destroyed in them. Every platform, every notification, every social environment rewards speaking, performing, filling space with words that signal you exist. You matter. You have something to say. And in that training, a very specific weakness was installed. The inability to shut up when shutting up is the most powerful move on the board. Watch what happens when an ordinary man feels disrespected. He reacts immediately. He needs the room to know he is not weak. He explains himself. He justifies. He defends. He escalates. And in every single one of those responses, he is handing his opponent a map of his fears, his insecurities, his pressure points, his ego, his boundaries, all packaged neatly in words he thought made him look strong. Every unnecessary word is a crack in your armor. Every emotional outburst is an open door for someone more controlled to walk through and own you. Machiavelli understood this at a level most men do not. The man who controls his tongue controls the room. Not because silence makes you seem mysterious, but because information is the actual currency of every human interaction. And the man speaking is spending, while the man listening is saving. The listener is getting richer every second. Now here is the part that changes how you see silence permanently. Most people think of silence as passive, as waiting, as having nothing to say. That is not the silence I am talking about. The silence of a dangerous man is not passive. It is predatory. It is the silence of a hunter who has already located the target and is waiting for exactly the right moment. Not idle, not patient in the gentle sense. Focused, absolutely focused, collecting every piece of information the other person is voluntarily handing over while believing they are in a conversation. You talk. You expose your timeline, your motivation, your insecurity, your next move. He says nothing, and he knows everything. That reversal, that invisible reversal of who is actually in control of the interaction. That is what controlled silence produces, without confrontation, without aggression, without a single raised voice. A calculated pause is more threatening than a raised voice. A cold, steady gaze holds more power than 1,000 heated words. Sun Tzu wrote that all warfare is based on deception, but the highest form of warfare is to win without fighting at all. Silence is that highest form applied to every room you walk into. You do not need to win the argument. You need to leave the room knowing more than when you entered. And the only way to do that is to stop filling it with the sound of your own thinking. Train yourself to become comfortable in silence the way other men are comfortable in noise. Let them talk. Let them perform. Let them exhaust themselves trying to figure out what you are thinking while you are reading them like an open book. There is a specific practice here. Next time someone says something designed to provoke you, something designed to get a reaction, pause. Not for 1 second. Pause for 5. Hold steady eye contact. Let the silence sit in the room like a third person. Watch what happens to them. They will start filling the gap. They will over-explain. They will soften what they said. They will reveal what was actually behind the provocation. You gave them nothing, and they gave you everything. The quieter you become, the louder your presence speaks. And presence. Real, undeniable, suffocating presence. That is what this is all building toward. Because the man who has mastered silence has also mastered something even more valuable. He has mastered the one thing that most men trade away without realizing it: control. Not control over others, control over himself, control over the pace of the interaction, control over what information flows in which direction, control over how the room perceives him, not based on what he said, but based on what he chose not to say. That control is power in its purest form. Drop in the comments right now. My silence is my strategy. If you understand what that actually means, you are already thinking differently than 95% of men alive today. 4. Stay mysterious. Stay untouchable. Everyone tells you to be authentic. What they do not tell you is that authenticity, in the wrong room, with the wrong people, at the wrong moment, will get you destroyed. Not metaphorically, practically, strategically destroyed. The man who wears his heart on his sleeve and calls it strength is not being brave. He is being careless. He has handed every person in every room a remote control pointed directly at him. And someone, somewhere, will press every button. Think about it. Your frustration is readable. Now someone knows exactly what to trigger when they need you distracted. Your ambition is visible before it is achieved. Now someone knows exactly what to threaten when they need leverage. Your fear is broadcast through your body language. Now someone knows exactly where to press when they need you to fold. Emotional transparency is not a virtue in a world that is not emotionally safe. It is an exposure. Machiavelli wrote it without apology. A prince must know how to use the lion and the fox. The lion for force, the fox for cunning, and the mask for everything in between. The mask is not deception in the way weak men practice deception. It is strategic presentation. It is the conscious decision to control what the world sees, what the world feels, and what the world believes about you. Because perception, in every arena of human life, is the currency that determines your access, your influence, and your survival. Now here is what they never teach you about being fully understood. Most men want to be understood. They think being completely known by the people around them is connection. It feels like intimacy. It feels like trust. But here is the cold reality of it. The person who can read you completely can predict you completely. And the person who can predict you completely can control you completely. Full transparency is not freedom. It is a leash worn by choice. The dangerous man understands that mystery is not a game. It is a survival architecture. He decides what to reveal and what to protect. He shows warmth where warmth opens doors. He shows coldness where coldness protects ground. He adjusts his presentation to the environment without the environment ever adjusting him. Machiavelli said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." That line is not about deception. It is about sovereignty. Sovereignty over how you are interpreted. Sovereignty over your own image. Sovereignty over the story others tell about you when you are not in the room. The man who controls that story controls something more valuable than money. He controls position. And position in every game humans play is everything. Here is what this looks like in practice. Your anger becomes a tool you deploy when it serves you, not a reaction that gets triggered when someone pushes the right button. You decide when anger appears. You decide how much. You decide when it disappears. Your warmth is a door you open selectively, not a vulnerability you leave permanently exposed to whoever happens to walk through. Your confidence is not loud. It is architectural, built into how you stand, how you pause before speaking, how you enter a room and how you leave it, how little you seem to need from the people around you to feel complete. That last part. How little you seem to need. That is the most powerful signal a man can send without saying a word. The men who changed history were never fully understood by the people around them. They were felt, they were respected, sometimes feared, but never fully known. And in that mystery lived their power. Guard your real face. Not from everyone, not forever, but from the world until the world has done something to earn it. Because the world that sees your mask will behave. The world that sees your real face will look for weaknesses. Give them the mask. Protect the mind. Write in the comments right now. They see my mask, never my mind. Say it. Because that single shift in how you present yourself to the world will change how the world responds to you in ways you are not fully prepared for yet. 5. The version of you that came out the other side was worth the burning. Every man in this world will suffer. That is not a possibility. It is a contract, written the moment you arrived, signed without your consent. And the fine print at the bottom says only one thing. What will you do with it? Loss will find you. Betrayal will find you. Failure will arrive at the most inconvenient, most devastating moment it can find. And it will not apologize for showing up. The question was never whether you will suffer. The only question that has ever mattered is what you do with it when it comes. Ordinary men treat suffering as an interruption. As evidence the universe selected them specifically for punishment. They sit inside it. They broadcast it. Slowly, without realizing it, they build an identity around it. They become defined not by what they survived, but by what broke them. And that is the most dangerous thing a man can do. Not because pain is shameful, because surrendering to it is surrender itself. Machiavelli observed that fortune, fate, the unpredictable chaos of life, controls roughly half of everything that happens to a man. Half. But the other half belongs entirely to the man with the virtù to meet it. He used the metaphor of a flooding river. Fortune is the flood, destructive, indiscriminate, unstoppable when it arrives at full force. But the wise man, the prepared man, the one who did the inner work before the storm appeared on the horizon, he builds embankments, he shapes the terrain. So when the flood comes, and it always comes, it does not destroy him. It redirects around him. He did not stop the flood. He made himself a different kind of obstacle for it to navigate. That is the philosophy of strategic suffering. Not pretending pain does not exist. Not performing strength while bleeding internally. That is not power, that is performance. And performance exhausts itself. True power is feeling the full weight of something and choosing your response deliberately. Not reactively, not impulsively, deliberately. There is a gap between what happens to you and how you choose to react. That gap is small. Most men never even notice it exists. But in that gap lives everything. Your freedom, your power, the entire difference between a man who is driven by his circumstances and a man who drives through them. In that gap, ordinary men collapse. Dangerous men are forged. Here is what suffering does to a man who does not run from it. Every betrayal you survive teaches you something you could never have learned in safety. It sharpens your ability to read people before they reveal themselves. It strips away the romantic version of human nature and replaces it with the accurate version. Every failure you metabolize, not avoid, not perform your way through, actually metabolize, strips away strategies that were never going to work. It is painful editing, but it is editing towards something real. Every moment of humiliation, processed correctly, burns away the fragile version of ego that needed external approval to feel whole. And what is left after that burning is something money cannot buy and comfort cannot produce. A self that is self-sourced. A man who does not need the world's validation because he has already validated himself in the darkest room, at the lowest point, with no audience watching and nothing to gain from pretending he was okay. That man is not ordinary. You cannot manipulate him with shame. He has already lived through shame and discovered it was survivable. You cannot crack him with pressure. He has already been under pressure that would have destroyed most men, and came out the other side, changed but not broken. He is not unfeeling. He is unbreakable. And that distinction between not feeling and not breaking is the one most men spend their entire lives confused about. Stoicism is not numbness. It is not suppression dressed up in philosophy. It is the disciplined gap, the practiced pause between stimulus and response, the trained refusal to let what happens to you determine who you become. Your pain is not your story. It is your training ground. Write this in the comments. My pain was my training ground. Say it and mean it. Because the man who can say that and mean it is not the same man he was before he could. 6. The enemy with your face. Before we talk about the enemies outside you, the competitors, the betrayers, the systems designed to keep you small, we need to have a conversation most people in this space will never have with you. Because it does not get clicks, it does not make you feel validated, and it will not give you someone else to blame. Your worst enemy has your face, speaks in your voice, sleeps in your bed, and you have been letting him run your life. Here is the truth. Most content will never tell you because it does not sell. The reason most men never reach the level they are capable of is not the economy, not their upbringing, not the people who did not believe in them, not the opportunities that passed them by. It is them, daily, quietly, consistently, through 1,000 small surrenders so habitual that they stopped feeling like surrender. They started feeling like personality, like identity, like just the way things are. And that right there is the most sophisticated trap a mind can build for itself, turning your limitations into your biography. Machiavelli was ruthless in his assessment of human nature, not because he despised men, because he understood them with a clarity that most philosophers were too polite to commit to paper. He saw that men are by nature pulled toward comfort with an almost gravitational force that only the most disciplined among them ever fully overcome. He did not write that to condemn. He wrote it as a warning. The man who does not know his own weaknesses cannot defend against them. And a man who cannot defend against his own weaknesses will be conquered, not by his enemies, by himself. Now let me make this specific, because self-sabotage has become such an overused phrase that most men hear it and immediately think it applies to someone else. It applies to you. Here is how it shows up: the planner. This is the man who is always preparing but never starting. He has notebooks full of goals. He has timelines. He has research. He has every condition almost perfectly arranged. And the moment conditions are almost perfect, he finds one more thing to prepare for. This is not planning. This is fear wearing a productive costume. The analyzer. He is not overthinking. He is being thorough. That is what he tells himself. But the analysis has become the activity. The thinking has replaced the doing. Every possible outcome has been mapped, except the one where he actually begins and discovers whether he was capable. The lone wolf. He does not need anyone. He says this with pride. But look closer and you will see it is not independence. It is insulation. A wall built not to protect strength, but to protect against the vulnerability that comes with actually being seen, trying. The performer. He confuses volume for confidence. He needs the room to witness him. Real confidence is quiet. It does not require an audience. What he is performing is not strength. It is the fear of being considered weak if he is not visibly strong at all times. The recharger. He calls it self-care, and sometimes it is, but most of the time it is the strategic avoidance of the specific discomfort he knows would produce the most growth if he walked toward it instead of away from it. These are not innocent habits. They are defense mechanisms built by a younger, more wounded version of you to protect against pain that no longer threatens you the way it once did. But they are still running, still operating, still keeping you not just from suffering, but from everything. From the life sitting on the other side of the discomfort, you keep deciding to revisit tomorrow. The Machiavellian man does not protect his ego at the cost of his evolution. He sits down with himself, coldly, honestly, without mercy, and he conducts an inventory. Where am I lying to myself? Where am I choosing comfort over capability? Where is my potential being held by my own hand? And then he acts on what he finds. Not tomorrow, not when the feeling arrives, not when conditions improve. Now, imperfectly, with resistance screaming in every direction. Because the man on the other side of that resistance is not the same man who stood before it. He is harder, sharper, freed from the tyranny of his own hesitation in a way that changes everything: his decisions, his presence, his results. Readiness is not a feeling. It is a decision. Drop this in the comments. I am my greatest opponent and my greatest victory. Write it. Mean it. Let it be the standard from this moment forward. 7. They stayed close enough to learn your weaknesses. Then they used them. Not everyone in your circle is in your corner. Read that again slowly. Not everyone who smiles at you is safe. Not everyone who calls you brother has your interests anywhere near their heart. Not everyone who shows up for you publicly respects you privately. And the moment you accept this, not as cynicism but as clarity, everything changes. You stop being a casualty of misplaced loyalty. You start being a strategist of your most valuable resource, your trust. Machiavelli wrote that men will betray you for the smallest of gains when the opportunity presents itself. Not because they are evil, because human nature, left unexamined, is self-interested first, always, without exception. This is not a condemnation. It is an accurate, unsentimental description of how people actually work beneath the surface of what they perform for you. And the man who builds his life on sentiment rather than strategy will one day wake up surrounded by the wreckage of everything he built, wondering how the people he loved most handed the tools of his destruction to his enemies. Betrayal does not arrive with a knife. It arrives with a smile, with encouragement that keeps you small, with advice that keeps you dependent, with applause that never quite reaches the eyes. Here is how you learn to see it. 3 tests. Not administered, observed. The success test. Watch the half-second before someone composes their reaction to your win, before the performance of support begins. That unguarded moment, the body before the words. Does the congratulation reach the eyes or does it stay frozen at the lips? You cannot fake that half-second. Nobody can. The absence test. What happens to your name when you are not in the room? The person who is genuinely loyal does not need your presence to protect your reputation. He defends it when staying quiet would have cost him nothing. That is the test, not who says the right things to your face. The dissent test. When you have nothing to offer, nothing to trade, nothing to promise, who remains? Loyalty is never tested at the top. It is tested in the silence of your lowest point. That list of who stayed. That is your real circle. Everything else was proximity dressed as loyalty. The dangerous man does not respond to this reality with paranoia. He responds with discernment, cold, patient, clinical observation over time, before he grants anyone access to the most valuable thing he possesses. His genuine trust. And when betrayal comes, because it will come, it is not met with rage. It is met with the cold acknowledgement of a lesson learned, a wall built exactly where it should have been long ago. Build your circle like a fortress, not like a party, selective, pressure-tested, built to protect the mission, not to impress visitors. Write in the comments, I build walls where I once built doors. That is not bitterness. That is wisdom hardened into architecture. 8. Motivation is a lie. This is what actually works. Every motivational video you have ever watched gave you a feeling. What you needed was something completely different. Feelings fade by Tuesday. What you needed runs whether you feel like it or not. Let me be precise about something the modern world has commercialized and diluted beyond recognition. Discipline is not a morning routine. It is not a cold shower. It is not an aesthetic journal entry written in golden light with an inspiring caption underneath it. Discipline, in its truest sense, is the relentless, often unglamorous process of closing the gap between the man you currently are and the man your potential demands you become. That process is not pretty. It does not trend on social media. It happens in the dark, in the silence, in the moments when no one is watching and every soft, undisciplined part of you is negotiating for just one more day of delay. The dangerous man does not negotiate with that voice. He does not debate it. He does not reason with it. He simply moves, because he has understood something the majority of men alive today have not. Motivation is a guest. It comes and goes as it pleases. You cannot schedule it. You cannot command it. You cannot build anything permanent on a foundation that disappears without notice. Discipline is different. Discipline is a resident. It stays regardless of the weather, regardless of how you feel, regardless of whether the conditions are inspiring or miserable or somewhere in between. You do not wait to feel ready. Ready is a myth constructed by fear to keep you exactly where you are. The man who waits for perfect conditions to begin his transformation will die, having never started it. Machiavelli studied Cesare Borgia with a specific intention. Not because Borgia was born great, because Borgia constructed his greatness through calculated, consistent, ferociously disciplined action in the direction of his vision, even when that vision seemed impossible to everyone around him, even when the obstacles were not what he expected, even when the cost was higher than he anticipated. He did not stop. He adjusted and continued. That is the model. Not inspiration, not talent, not favorable timing. Constructed, deliberate, relentless. The most formidable men at a psychological level share one trait above all others. They have developed an almost inhuman tolerance for delayed gratification. They have trained themselves to consistently choose the difficult thing that serves their long-term position over the easy thing that serves their immediate comfort. And they have done this so many times, across so many parts of their life, that it stopped being a choice and became a nature, an identity so deeply embedded that softness no longer feels like relief. It feels like regression. This is what you are building toward. Not a better morning, not a more productive week. A fundamentally different relationship with difficulty itself, where hard things stop feeling like obstacles and start feeling like materials. Raw materials from which the dangerous man builds his advantage, his resilience, his reputation, and his results. Every hour of sleep you sacrifice for your craft is a brick. Every uncomfortable conversation you stop avoiding is a brick. Every temptation you walk past, every distraction you eliminate, every moment you choose your future self over your present comfort. Brick, brick, brick. And one day, without announcement, without fanfare, without any single moment that feels like a dramatic breakthrough, you look up and realize you have built something most men only ever dreamed about from the comfort of their hesitation. A version of yourself that is no longer ordinary, no longer available for manipulation, no longer accessible to the low expectations of people who never believed in the scale of what you were quietly constructing. Your reputation is not what happens to you. It is what you build before anyone has the chance to define it for you. Every disciplined decision is architecture. Every kept promise to yourself is a foundation stone. And the man who builds that foundation in private, in silence, without applause, becomes someone the world eventually cannot ignore. Not because he sought attention, because what he built could not be hidden. Write this in the comments. I am built in the silence where no one is watching, because that is where real transformation lives. Not in the highlight reel, in the private, unglamorous, sacred daily practice of becoming someone the world cannot stop. We have arrived, not at a destination. The dangerous man understands there is no destination, no summit where the work is finished, no moment where he plants a flag and declares himself complete. We have arrived at a threshold, the crossing point between the man who consumes this kind of knowledge and nods thoughtfully, and the man who internalizes it so completely, so permanently, that it begins to reshape how he thinks, how he moves, how the world experiences his presence. You now know what most men will spend their entire lives never knowing. Not because the information was hidden, because they were never willing to sit still long enough to face it. You are no longer available for a life designed by someone else. Power moves toward your cold clarity, not your loudest moment. Your silence is a weapon, not a weakness. Your mask protects the mind they will never reach. Your pain was not punishment. It was preparation. The enemy in the mirror has been named and will not survive your awareness. Your circle is a fortress now, and your discipline is the architecture of everything coming next. The unstoppable man is not the one who never bleeds. He is the one who bleeds in private and walks out in public like a man who has never been touched. He does not need you to believe in him. He does not need you to understand him. By the time you do, he has already moved 3 steps beyond the place you thought was his ceiling. The mountain was never the obstacle. You were. And now that you are out of your own way, nothing in this world can stop what comes next. Write this in the comments. I am not who I was. I am what I decided to become. Like this video. Share it with one man who needs to wake up. Subscribe, because what comes next goes even deeper. Now go. Not because you are ready, because you are done waiting to be.